So lately I've been interested in retro video game graphics because who isn't these days? And so I decided to learn how to make them in less than 24 hours, and it turns out it's actually pretty easy. The first thing I did was create a 3D model. Because of the limited hardware of the PS1 and N64, developers had to be very economical with how many polygons their models had, usually keeping things under 500 triangles. My model triangle count is a bit on the high side, but it manages to keep that old school aesthetic, and I made sure to keep the arms separate from the body because that was apparently really common back then. Next, I made the textures. The PS1 supported texture sizes up to 256 by 256 pixels, though most games stuck with a maximum of 128. And you had to do everything on those 128 pixels, leaving you with these adorably tiny little textures. Since this is the 21st century, one thing we can do to optimize things is combine everything into a single texture called an atlas, which is much more convenient to work with and uses less engine resources for better performance. After that, I applied the texture onto the model. Because it's low poly, you often don't have a lot of room to tweak stuff and make it look perfect, and so you have to make compromises with certain proportions. That's why a lot of old games have some pretty ugly looking models if I'm being honest, though I'm sure a more experienced artist than myself could do a much better job. After that, I rigged up the model and gave it a janky animation, and then I imported the model into my game engine. Here you can decide if you want to go for the N64 look by enabling texture filtering, which makes all the textures look kind of blurry, or you can disable the blur if you want to go for the PS1 look, which didn't support filtering. Personally, I prefer the PS1 look even though I grew up with the N64. It's all preference. Now, if you run the game as it is now, you'll notice that something just doesn't look right, and that's because the resolution is too high. It's too HD, you can't see the pixels. The PS1 was capable of outputting a maximum of 320 by 240 pixels, and so simply reducing the size of your game to that resolution should give you an authentic look. Though in my opinion, it's pretty hard to look at on a modern display, and so you can get away with increasing the resolution to 640 by 480 and it'll still look pretty retro. All that's left are some finishing touches such as locking the aspect ratio to 4:3 instead of the modern 16 by 9 and adding a 90s era user interface, and all of a sudden you've got something that looks very convincingly retro. I had a lot of fun learning how to make retro graphics, and I would love to do more with it in future videos, so let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, bell, links to my social media down below, and as always, have a nice day.